Today, we're going to make a carbon fiber tire spinner Gearshift pen all here on the lathe. So this is the pre-tubed carbon fiber pen blank. We're going to mark it so we know where to cut. The one in my hand is just for the length. We're going to mark this at 2 7/16 of an inch. We're going to cut this on the bandsaw. So here we come to the disc sander, where we have a pen squaring jig clamped to a miter gauge, and we slide the end of the blank on, and we're going to make the end of the pen blank square or perpendicular to the brass tube which is inside. And this is done to ensure that the parts fit correctly upon assembly. So we have the disc on, we have dust collection on, and we're just going to touch it and turn it a little bit, and we're going to sand it to the correct length until the end is sanded down properly. And after one side is done, we're going to flip it over and do the other side so both sides are sanded and square. So I'm just again measuring, even though it's marked, just to ensure the correct length. And again, we'll just repeat the process again. It is mounted on the mandrel, locking the tailstock. Always wear safety glasses and a full face shield. Turning up the RPMs. We barely knocked off the corners. Nice and slow. Too fast and it will break. So this is being used with an Easywood Tool CI2 carbide cutter with a negative rake. And it's a square with a radius. And we're going to switch to a round cutter, also with the negative rake. So the back cut is an angle and a slight cut on the front. Reduces chip out. And we're going to finish this right now. Go through all the grits, and each grit's going to use multiple times. The tool rest has been removed. We're only going to sand. We're going to lower the RPMs, and everything is going to be wet sanded, no dust. This is J-weight cloth backed sandpaper. It will not fall apart. Each time we're going to submerge it in water. We're going to wet it. Do it several times before we move up. This is 150 grit. Also going to remove the slurry after each grit. Now we switch to 240 grit. Again, continuously wet sanding. I'm going to turn the RPMs up just a little bit. The lathe bed has been covered with towels and paper towels preventing water, because the bed of the lathe is cast iron and we don't want it to rust. Now we switch to 320 grit. Switching to 600 grit, again wet sanding. We're going to go from sandpaper to micro polishing pads. This is again 600, but it's a different type. And then we'll continue with the new type until we get to the end. Then we're going to clean it off. Clean paper towel, and you can see right there, much shinier. Now we're switching to 800. As you go to higher grits, or more polishing and sanding. We're going to make this, when we get done, a glass-like finish. Now we're switching to 1500. Good, 1500. I'm going to switch to 2400 grit. Bump up the RPMs a little bit. 2400 grit. Spin it again. Now we're switching to 4,000 grit. Wet sand. 4,000. Now we're going to finish 12,000 grit. 12,000. Almost done. We have one more step. And we're going to use a proprietary polished 25,000 grit. We're going to put this on, put the lathe off, and then we're going to turn up the RPMs and buff it in. So with the lathe turning, actually we're going to do it very slow. We're going to bring this down to 200 RPMs, 200, just to put that on. Now we're going to turn up the RPMs from 200, slowly, keeping the cloth moving, to 3,600 RPMs. It's a clean spot. Do it again. Carbon fiber, glass finish. So all the parts get pressed onto the body of the pen, not glued in, they get pressed in. And we take one part at a time. First, we're going to start with the tip, line it up on the press. And this provides a couple 100 pounds of force. And now this is a press block to protect the threads of the cap end and the bearing and the wheel spinner cap screws on the end. So now we put the bearing on. There's a ball bearing ring in there. I'll hold that, put the screw in, tighten the screw. That'll hold the bearing in place, yet it still spins. And then we're going to thread the tire onto the threads of the bearing, and then it'll move together and spin freely. Now we have the refill with the spring. And just put the tip on. That's threaded onto the coupler. So here is the finished carbon fiber, chrome body, Gearshift pen. See the detail with the wheel and the tire. It spins. All made on the lathe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.